Never seen a lame man walk. Never heard a dumb man talk. Never seen a blind man see. I promise you will change his life. Never seen a cancer dead. Never seen all the poor get fed. Never seen a prisoner set free. I promise you will change his life.
Anyway, so good. What's up, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? It's your boy, Bigger T, and I'm joined as always by my man, Big C, Clint Clark. How you doing, man?
Man, it is a tank top type of day. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't it?
Let the guns breathe.
Hey, happy July 4th.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Independence Day.
Did you hear that like canceled has an extra L in it in England?
It does.
Because we handed it to them in 1776.
Yeah, that's good.
Hey, I stole it, but I was like, we'll say I made it up.
It feels like it's been forever since we've been here, man.
Two week hiatus.
2 week hiatus. Yeah, man.
I was on vacation 1 week. Went to Vegas with the boys, and anyway.
Did you return broke?
I did return broke. I never take more in than what I can afford to lose.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Did you eat any good food?
I did. We went to the Brazilian steakhouse, and I did encounter the meat sweats.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm like,
that's always.
I'm bringing on them skewers of meat.
The meat sweats are the only sweats I like.
Yeah, and then then we went to Hash House of Go-Go, which is like my favorite place in Vegas. I got a blueberry lemon glazed pancake.
Wow,
it was pretty phenomenal.
That does sound phenomenal.
Now, Nelly, he got the Matt Nelson, my college roommate, former starting left tackle for the Arkansas Tech University. He got like eggs Benedict, like I had like a fried chicken patty on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like, I wish I'd have got that.
Yeah.
It just looked phenomenal.
That happens sometimes at good restaurants like that. You're happy with what you got, but then you see what someone else got and you kind of get envious. You're like, oh man, wish I had both.
I was thinking about the biscuits and gravy and I was like, nah, like it's like there's so much there that I just I want to try. That's why I go every time I'm in Las Vegas. But
well, with your traveling stomach issues you've had in the past, the gravy may have staying away from gravy might have been a good call.
Yeah, it seems like I always have stomach issues when I travel.
Well, I know, that's why I said it.
I get anxious. So yeah,
every trip you go on, it seems like
at least have a bad. I don't know when the last time that I went on a trip.
Yeah,
and I didn't have about a diarrhea.
Yeah, and that's why Clint is an oversharer, people.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, we learned about Big C and diarrhea today. Okay. We'll dub this way. We already had a diarrhea episode, but this could be diarrhea.
Yeah. Well, yeah. At least we're just talking about it now.
We're just talking about it. We're not like
you didn't have to run off in the middle of the episode.
Because that was the one episode that you got. Well, it's not the one episode. There's been several, but you got long-winded.
I did, yeah.
I just was like, please.
I was trying to fill the time, yeah.
And I'm like, I gotta go.
It's like, shut this thing off. But now, to my credit, I've learned what that look looks like now for you. So
yeah, like
I've learned what Travis shut up looks like. So I got that figured out.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, and man, while we've been on break here, while we've had our little 2 week sabbatical or whatever you call it, there's been some bad news.
There has been.
And there's been some very sad, disappointing news. And with one of the arguably the greatest quarterback to play at Arkansas, Ryan Mallett, drowned out in Florida.
Yeah.
And
I would definitely put him in the top 3 or 4.
yeah, it's it's hard to compare with the because you got the Brad Taylors, you got the Joe Fergusons, you got those guys, but that's a different era, and we've probably never seen an arm like like Ryan Mallett for sure.
Well, I would probably take KJ over him in our lifetime. But man, Ryan's probably a close second.
And it's just and this is our Holy Shnikes this week, and it's a lot of times Holy Shnikes are funny things for us, but this one, of course, is not at all, because it was shocking. It's one of those things when you see it on Twitter, you're thinking, okay, hopefully that's a joke, and then you find out it's not a joke. And what was he, 35 years old?
Yeah, just
and his
young
head coach at Whitehall.
Was it Whitehall? Yeah, was it?
Yeah, he's head coach at Whitehall over in Pine Bluff, or just outside of Pine Bluff, and doing some good things there. And now, Clint, let's a lot of people are talking about these kind of things, but hey, we're what's one of your favorite Ryan Mallett memories?
Oh my goodness, just it just you go back to a lot of them games where he just was just on fire.
Mm-hmm.
It was early on. I remember him quarterbacking that LSU game to get us to the first ever BCS Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times did he hit Joe Adams or somebody like that over the middle?
Well, that end of the half play, man, that fourth.
Yeah.
Was it 4th and 3 at the end of the half?
That was what, Colby Hamilton?
Or
was it?
Yeah.
Or was it, no. Yeah, I can't remember. But I mean, he just some of the
those two safeties ran into each other, and
yeah.
And dude, he threw a rope.
When it comes to throwing the long ball, I don't. Man, man was blessed with a rocket. How about yourself?
That LSU play, there was a couple things I just remember about him. He took off on a couple runs, and he wasn't known for his speed, but he took off on a run, got a first down one time, and got up like, that's what I do, folks. Like it was no big deal. Like, he's the least likely quarterback to run, and he just took off, and that, I mean, it was slow. It wasn't fast, but it, made the defense think, and, he got a first down, I loved hearing a lot of the stories, of course, on the Buzz. They talked a lot about it. People were calling in, telling stories about just different things he did. But one of my favorites was Tyler Wilson called in to the Buzz, and they were talking about him. And Tyler's like, when Petrino was there, he said, I was scared of Petrino. He said, I didn't go to his office unless I was getting in trouble, so I definitely didn't just go in there and hang out. He said Ryan would go in there and hang out. He said he'd go in, sit in his chair, just hang out, get on his computer, just like it was nothing. Said, and even Petrino, man, put out a great message, and he called into the Buzz and talked about him and his memories of him, and called him one of the best quarterbacks he's ever coached. And so you feel for those kids at Whitehall. You feel for his family. I don't know if you've heard, but his mom put out a post yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, because apparently, there was a little bit of, I don't want to call it, I guess that you'd call it controversy, surrounding his death.
Yeah. Luke Matheson put out that he had died before his mom could let all the family know. And she's pretty upset about that.
Yeah.
She's and Luke's and Luke knew Ryan personally, I believe. So I'm sure it's eating him up that she's upset about it.
Yeah, probably.
And so, I mean, I'm not at all trying to drag him under, drag him under the fence or nothing like that. I mean, it's, but that's one of those things as a media person you have to think about. And, and of course she's unhappy right now. And so she's not going to be happy with anything that happened.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a tragic deal, man. It just really is a tragic deal.
Definitely, you would call him gone too soon.
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
So, lots of prayers for his family and those students at Whitehall. There's a story out about he had a student that got killed last year, and how he took care of the kid's mom and has, continued to take care of her since then. I think the local news station did that story on them. So, and his family comes from up there where you live, near Mallet Town. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
In fact, in the obituary, in lieu of flowers, they asked people to send money to the Mallet Town Cemetery Fund or something. So, yeah, that's I don't know if he's going to be buried in Mallet Town or not, but still, that's where that's his people. So he's related to all the Mallets we went to high school with.
Yeah. So we did go to high school with some Mallets now.
There's lots of Mallets. And they're good. They're entertaining folks. We're good.
Right. I'll never forget prom.
Yeah.
Never.
No.
Our class president, Mr. Jesse Mallett.
That's right.
Took off his top hat. And revealed the Road Warrior animal hairdo.
That's right. And as he said, as he's giving his speech about don't do anything stupid tonight. And by the way, he had come to prom on a motorcycle, and for the meal he went through McDonald's drive-through. So that's a Mallet for you. That's a good Mallet for you. So
yeah, there you go. But yeah, man, Ryan's gonna live forever in a lot of memories. And one thing that struck me is you're watching all these highlights of him, and I think about his arm strength, and we always talk about the big arm, and the cross the middle. There's the Joe Adams, Kobe Hamilton, Jarius Wright, Child, all them guys. He hit a lot of check downs that were just on the money too. There was a lot of wheel routes to Ronnie Wingo that in there, and Niall Davis. I mean, just his ability to check down too. Like he was a very, very good quarterback. He was smart about it, and and you're right. That's one of the things that differentiates him from me from like a Clint Sterner, because both of them had big arms. Sterner had a big arm, but Sterner he was a little bit like Favre. He would throw it as hard as he could every chance he got. Where Ryan had probably a bigger arm, but he knew when to take something off of it on those intermediate and short routes, and he could put some touch on it. And that's one thing that impressed me about him from the beginning when he first got to Arkansas, is he knew how to do that already. Sterner learned that by the end of his career, but when he first started playing, Sterner was ripping it into, tight ends on little 5-yard outs, and, just blowing it up. They couldn't catch it, just bouncing off their hands. He's throwing it so hard, or on a screen pass, he's throwing it too hard to the running back and stuff. But I think, and not to just completely, I think a lot of that is the skills and drills now.
Yeah.
All these quarterbacks are doing. That's why you're seeing them advance at such a quicker rate. Clint Sterner's got his thing where he trains quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like
and part of that was that the change in quarterback coaches.
Yeah.
At that time when Sterner was there helped him, and Mallet had already had. Who was it that was at Michigan? Was it Harbaugh? No, it wasn't Harbaugh.
It wasn't Harbaugh. It wasn't Rich Rod.
because Rich Rod came in. That's why he left.
Yeah, he left. I think it was
They
a
were gonna
Lloyd
run.
Carr. Did he play under Lloyd Carr?
May have been, but anyway, he definitely had some good training. He definitely. You're right. He had some good training there.
Well, I think anymore, even just high school kids nowadays. I mean, there's so much more crap.
Yeah.
Out there. There's so much more extra training.
Yeah.
Like KJ just left California from an elite quarterback camp.
Yeah. Well, and that's similar to it's like we interviewed Bart Reed. If you hadn't watched that podcast, go back and watch it. For basketball, you got people like him in the state now that the same thing with football. With football and baseball, that are doing private lessons for people. And kids nowadays, you have a 12-year-old that's got a pretty good arm. He can start working with a private quarterback coach right away, and have years of good training. Whereas like when we were coming up, if you were a quarterback, you just whatever the school had, if the school was to have a good quarterback coach, you got lucky, you got some good training, but
it is completely the game's completely. I mean, that aspect of it, and that wasn't me just sticking up for Clint Sterner. That's just the reality. Is how.
Oh yeah. No, and Sterner did great, man. Sterner had other things too, man. Sterner he was gritty. He had like I said, I wasn't talking bad about Brett Favre by saying he did that. He just sometimes he wouldn't think and just throw it too hard. And he's still one of the greatest ever. So anyway, everybody has a little bit of a glitch in their game, I guess.
No, I understand, but just the opportunities and all that nowadays.
Yeah. But Brian's gonna be missed, and I was anxious to see what he would do at Whitehall. Whitehall was a good situation for him. They get some good athletes, and I was anxious to see what he was going to be able to do there, and especially with his offensive mind. So it's sad we won't get to see that. So, well, another thing that happened, Clint, while we were on hiatus, was the NBA draft. We saw some Razorbacks.
We did. Like they a record amount of Razorbacks drafted. Three drafted. Was that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Every 5-star freshman. I do think, from early in the season, I think the projections, I think Jordan struggled a lot during the season, and I think he slid down into the second round. And I think Nick being hurt all year really, really hurt him, and he never did get to show off what he could. But if you ask me, and I know we probably got people turning us off right now because they're talking NBA. We're talking Razorbacks into the NBA.
Yeah.
Anthony Black went to Orlando, which I heard he really didn't want to do because they had a lot of point guard depth.
And they're talking like he's going to end up playing like maybe a 2. I don't know if he'll get to play. I don't know if he'll get to be the on the ball guy as much there. I'll tell you, let's just talk about each of where each of them went. Okay.
Yeah.
Black, I worry about that one because I think Orlando is I think they're trying to rebuild, and they're going to
trying to rebuild since they lost Shaq.
Yeah, and that's they're in perpetual rebuilding.
Yeah, they're perpetual rebuilding. It's you never can tell, when they're going to have the guy that turns it around. But it's almost like Orlando's a G League team.
Yeah.
Like they're just a feeder for other teams. And maybe he'll, we're obviously going to pull for the kid. But I just don't know. I mean, Orlando's one of them teams that may sneak in and get the 6th seed one year. You know what I'm saying? That seems like their ceiling. Of course, we'd have said that about the Milwaukee Bucks, and it just takes one special player like Giannis to,
and I think that's what they're hoping for, is to get that one special, guy somewhere down the line. And I'm not sure, I'm not I don't think Black is that one special guy, you know. I think he can be an excellent sidekick to that one special guy. You know what I mean? I think he can be the other guy with the special guy to make a special team down the line. But they're gonna have to work on that. And I think they say Black's really been working on his outside shot a lot. That's what he's been spending his time on since the season was over, and that he impressed a lot of the NBA teams in his workouts with his outside shooting. So that's, if he can continue that track, that'll help him a lot. Because there's one thing he's got in spades is his ability to drive to the basket and be physical, and especially against other guards, because he is so long. He's 6'6",
Yeah.
So hopefully he does well there. I guess the next one to go was Nick Smith, went to Charlotte. What do you think about
Nick
that pick?
Smith, and man, I am crazy about the draft Charlotte has.
Yeah.
I'm not an NBA fan by this year. I'm like, I watched the NBA Finals probably the first time in forever. That's because I really was enjoying watching Denver and the way they played basketball together.
Yeah.
I mean, it was team basketball. It was crisp. It looked what basketball should look like, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now they had Charlotte had the 3 pick, number 3, and they drafted Brandon Miller.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all remember, from Alabama.
Yeah.
I think he was a top 5 recruit coming in to the season.
Mm-hmm.
And he chose to go to Alabama, unfortunately, but that's fine. We'll forgive him. Then I think, was it 26th or 27th?
Somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly.
It was in the mid to late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up Nick Smith Jr.
Who,
if you looked at before the season on a lot of mock drafts in the preseason, had him as like the first college kid taken.
Yeah. I mean, it was him and Brandon Miller they pretty much got preseason. Well, if you would have looked back before this college season,
mm-hmm.
they pretty much got the 2 best college players.
Yeah. Right. I mean, Scoot Henderson was, he was GD. And then I'm going to butcher his name, the kid from France, the 7'4" guy.
Oh, Victor went. Yeah, he's.
Gosh. Yeah, I mean, they were 1 and 2.
Yeah,
pretty much. But if Brandon Miller lives up to the hype that he had coming out of college, if Nick Smith gets healthy, that is a turn your franchise around type of draft.
Yeah.
I mean, I really believe, I wholeheartedly believe that if these 2 guys can get it,
yeah, they
really can. It is a turn your franchise around type draft. And if I lived in Carolina for a while, they've got to be excited.
The other thing they have going for them is Charlotte's had consistency in the front office, ownership wise. Now, they made a switch recently. Okay. Jordan sold off his majority shares or whatever, I think. And I think that's right. And they're trying to get some more, but it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, a lot of the people are happy with what they've done. And it's the ownership. Okay. Yeah. And that makes a huge difference. As a Cleveland Brown fan, I can tell you, the ownership stability makes a huge, and front office stability makes a huge difference on how well these teams do in professional ranks. And I think that's one of the best parts of that situation is it looks like they're trying to do the right things as far as that goes. Now we'll see how long it lasts, hopefully.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I mean, you look at it, and I had I've been kind of defending Nick Smith to some friends. I got some friends I'm in a text group with, and they're like, he didn't even deserve to go there. He should have stayed in school. They really have been down on him. Okay. and they don't think he's any good. Honestly, they don't see what the hype is about him. And I don't know, Clint. I just saw something different when I saw him on the court last year.
Yeah.
There were times he struggled. There was times he struggled. But there was also times when I saw his intensity and his play was next level compared to the people around him.
Well,
And
he was. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
Well, no, and I just think there were some other reasons he didn't get in the flow of the offense. I think some of it was just like I've talked about before, was too many people trying to be the same chess piece at one time on the court for most of them.
And there's a little bit for us, the fans of, I want to say, a Mitch Mustain situation.
Yeah.
And let me elaborate when I say that. And this is a lot of it. There is no way Mitch Mustain was the number 1 overall recruit.
Oh, yeah.
Football, 5-star quarterback, Mr. Everything. We couldn't wait to have him on campus. There was no way Mitch was ever going to live up to expectations.
No.
Zero.
No.
People were expecting him to come in, throw for 500 yards a game, and go have 100% completion percentage.
Yeah.
Just wasn't the situation.
Yeah.
But, and it got so bad that he was like, deuces, I'm out.
Yeah.
On the Southern Cal, because just the expectations, he wanted to go somewhere where he could just be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
When you're an Arkansas kid that highly recruited, when you're just that highly recruited and you're coming to Arkansas, people expect you to, they expect you to move water. They expect you to move mountains. That's what they expect. He was a true freshman that was hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
His growing pains was during the nut cutting time of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to figure out, and the team had already somewhat gelled.
Yeah.
He was literally in a no-win situation.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he was in a no-win situation. And, and somebody like Bart Reed, who, knows him really well, who's around the top level guys.
Mm-hmm.
If, guys like that know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
They do. Obviously, probably the reasons he fell to the as late as he did was because, his knee issues. I mean, people like, okay, is this going to be a recurring thing? Mm-hmm. If they get it right, then they get it, it's going to be good. Because now they've got Brandon Miller. They got one of the Ball brothers, the best of the Ball brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got Nick Smith. I mean, it could be in a couple of years that Charlotte's scary.
Yeah.
That team has some potential, and I'm going to be excited. I really think that they have the best chance to turn themselves around in the draft.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Victor.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a franchise turning around.
That guy's nuts, man.
I was listening to and I want to get into what it reminded me to come back to what I'm thinking right now. Because it could have been a holy Snikes moment at all the ESPN layoffs. But I remember Jeff Van Gundy, they were talking about, how late, Jimmy Butler was the last pick of the first round. And then, Niko Jokic, he was drafted in the second round during Taco Bell commercial. They say, that just goes to show you. And then Jeff Van Gundy said, I'll take it. LeBron James at number 1 too, though.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to have these picks. I would take LeBron at number 1.
Yeah.
So that cracked me up. Like, yeah, these late round picks. So yeah, I think they got him. He was a no-brainer number 1 pick. But I think what Charlotte did, I think is really nice, and it's building the team for the future. And I think, in a couple of years, because I believe they just re-signed Ball to like a rookie supermax contract, which is just, I think they're giving out monopoly money.
Yeah.
I mean, like they're like, it's like 40 million to players. I'm like, I can take that guy one-on-one.
Crazy talk. Yeah.
Crazy talk. Especially me taking anybody that played in the NBA one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the last thing on Nick Smith is this. Look, folks, there's a reason. There's a reason every expert just about had him as a top 5 pick, before, coming out of high school. And if he would have went, if he would have went to that G League Ignite team like he thought about doing, and he would have made money going there. I mean, he'd have made a lot more than he made in NIL, I guarantee you. And he probably would have still stayed a top pick going there, even with an injury, because people wouldn't have paid. They don't pay attention to those quite as much, right? And he probably would have just focused on getting better instead of trying to get his 1 year in of college. But he wanted to be a Razorback. He wanted to be a Razorback. Kamani told us that. Bart Reed told us that. Both of them know him personally. And he wanted to get that 1 year in and be a Razorback and play as many games as he could. And so, but there's a reason all those scouts and all those NBA guys were hyping him up. There's a reason he had 5 stars. Okay. And you don't get to see that even in the ones that have decent years. There's more to, Anthony Black had a good year at Arkansas. There's more to him than we saw in this 1 year at Arkansas. When he goes and plays in Orlando for 2 or 3 years, we're going to start seeing some stuff out of him that's going to blow our minds. Okay.
And Anthony Black played well enough this year. He actually improved his projections.
Yeah.
From
yeah. And it's only going to get better. These are still, man, these kids ain't done growing yet. Some of them.
No, they're 18, 19-year-old kids.
Yeah.
I think Scoot Henderson was 17. He just got drafted.
Yeah.
Played in the G League.
So don't write them off yet. And by the way, the last one, of course, is Walsh.
Who probably went to the best situation.
Yeah. And if you follow him on social media and some stuff, Boston's loving him. They're talking him up, and he's talking Boston up, and he's excited to be there. And I'm telling you, he's another one that we didn't see all that he's got. He was trying to find his role. He was trying to find his place on the team this year. I guarantee you, in year 2 at Boston, we're gonna look and say, is that the same guy that played at Arkansas?
Yeah.
I have no doubt about that. I mean, there's a reason he had those 5 stars.
Potential. Yeah, all 3 of those guys have potential through the roof.
Yeah.
Walsh obviously dropped to the 2nd round, and he'll get a lot of playing time in, because when they don't need him, they'll probably put him down in their G League team.
Yeah, yeah.
So he just get minutes.
Yeah.
You look Moses Moody, he spent a lot of time doing that, and he was a lottery pick.
Yeah.
But yeah. I think having them 3 drafted, I think that was good. That's good for Arkansas. I mean,
yeah.
If you're a 5-star recruit, you got to look at it like, okay, I could go there and I can be one and done, and I can get there. If I'm a low 4-star recruit, I don't know if I go to Arkansas.
Yeah.
Just based off what you see with Ford and Barry Dunning and all them guys, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So now I hinted at it when we were talking. Did you hear about all the ESPN layoffs?
Oh my goodness. What is going on?
You weren't even employed there.
Well, I'll tell you this. Have you ever listened to the ESPN morning show with Max and Jay Will? And
I have, yeah. Some I have, yeah.
It's terrible.
Okay.
I
don't listen a lot.
Well, I listen to it a lot because I normally wake up on a weekday before the buzz gets started, before 6 o'clock. So like, I'm usually up by like 5:30 or so. So I listen to to about 30 minutes of it before I turn it over to the buzz. And it's the same discussions every day. Even it's just the same discussions. They're either talking about Aaron Rodgers or they're talking about LeBron James every time. I mean, it's the same stuff. and it just wasn't a good. I mean, I cut my teeth in sports radio, listening to sports radio on Mike and Mike and Tony Kornheiser. They're not them, man. And so that was sort of a failed deal anyway. So I wasn't surprised I didn't want those guys to get fired, because I think as far as commentators, like during games and during, in the studio, commentators, they do a good job. Keyshawn does a great job. That Jay Will does a great job commentating on NBA stuff. Max is a good talker. So.
And if you're Jalen Rose, how do you feel? They fire you and your ex-wife still employed there.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was crazy. So which firing surprised you the most from over there? Or layoff? I mean, they're still getting paid to 2024 and they can get new jobs. So it's not like ESPN did them dirty.
I don't know if it surprised me, but the saddest to me was what's his name? Defensive end from Georgia.
Yeah, David Pollock.
Yeah. I like Pollock. I thought he brought a lot to College Game Day and stuff.
He wasn't a huge Arkansas fan. He was usually pretty down on Arkansas.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a Georgia guy. What do you expect?
Yeah, I loved watching him play when he was at Georgia. And then I remember talking to Matt Jones one time about him, and he was telling me just what it was like going against him. And, because, Matt wasn't bothered too bad by defensive ends, but Pollock was a tough one for him.
Yeah. I would say Susie Colbert surprised me.
Susie Colbert was that did surprise me.
Yeah, that one.
To
me, she was like the female Berman.
Yeah,
like she should have been able to go out when she wanted to go out. That
especially that one did surprise me, because she's good. I mean, she's talented, and we're living in a world where they're trying to get more women in those jobs, because there's more qualified women now. I mean, these women they know their stuff and they do a good job. And so they're companies want to show that, hey, we'll hire you. If you do a good job and your stuff, we'll hire you. And especially a lady like her that's been doing it for a little bit longer time. You'd think they want to keep her around. And so that one did surprise me there. And it had to be a financial thing, contract wise.
Oh yeah. And Jalen Rose surprised me too, not just because they still employ his ex-wife, but I mean, Jalen and Jacoby was a good radio show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one. That one. You mentioned you cut your teeth on them guys. I would definitely say, the guy I cut my teeth on was Jim Rome. I love Jim Rome.
Yeah. I listened to Rome. Rome came up about a little later, I was listening to Mike and Mike when they first started, Tony Kornheiser when they first started, but I was working, I was working in Conway, and I'd listen. They had an ESPN radio outlet there, 92.7, I believe, and I would listen to them. And man, I loved Mike and Mike would have me rolling, man. Well, and actually, it was no, and then Dan Patrick, Dan Patrick and Rob Dibble. Still also, the funniest radio I've ever heard in my life. Okay. Funniest radio was Dan Patrick, Rob Dibble, the old pitcher for the when he said
Reds, wasn't he?
For the Reds. Yeah, he was part of what was that group they had?
I know you're talking about, yeah.
Anyway, Bad Boys or something like that. Anyway, he when Ichiro came in the league, he said, people were saying Ichiro was going to win the batting title. And he said, Ichiro will not win the batting title. He said, there's no way a player from Japan is going to come in here his rookie year, even though he's older, because he came over here, he was a little older than, most rookies. Right. He said, no way he's going to win the batting title. He said, if he wins the batting title, I will get his name tattooed on my butt cheek, and run through Central Park naked. Well, Ichiro won the battle.
Right, yeah.
So
They wouldn't let him do it naked.
they wouldn't let him do it naked, but he got his name. He got permanently tattooed on his butt cheek, Ichiro in Japanese. So it was the Japanese symbols instead of just the English word Ichiro. And he wore a thong and he jogged through Central Park with it. And Dan
Probably
Patrick,
the strangest thing that happened in Central Park.
it probably was, oh, hey, another guy, you know.
Like, hey,
But I
the
think
fourth
there
one
were,
today. I don't know what to tell you.
but there was somebody like following him along that was, you know, commentating, talking to Dan Patrick while he was doing it. And it was the funniest radio I ever listened to. But yeah, no,
yeah, go ahead.
but it's just sad seeing those people. Anytime someone loses their job, man, it's sad. But it was pretty shocking.
So, but now back to basketball. Now that we got off of that tangent, big announcement came through this week for Razorback basketball. Out with the SEC Big 12 Challenge.
That's right.
It's over. It's done with. It is very rare when you see one of these challenges and you look at it and go, that's the biggest game, and it involves Arkansas.
Yeah,
because usually that thing's kind of going to go to Kentucky. I don't remember who Kentucky got in the ACC.
Kentucky got Miami.
Okay, so yeah, I would say by far the biggest game is the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah,
on a Saturday night, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
In Bud Walton Arena.
Yeah.
Prime time in Bud Walton Arena. The Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah.
You know who is the most excited about this game? Who is the most excited out of anybody could possibly be excited about this game?
Who's that?
Got to be Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
Got to be. Every recruit there is.
Yeah. He's going to want to come to that game.
I mean, you're like, come to this game. Come. You're going to go. We'll take you to a basketball game. I mean, it's going to be a big recruiting weekend. You know, Musselman's going to have them down. Bud Walton's going to be sold out.
Man. Okay, Clint. The teams, as a Razorback fan, for some reason you love to hate.
Oh, Duke.
Duke's on that list, right?
Yeah. Duke is on that list. Duke.
And in basketball, it's probably Duke, Kentucky.
Yeah. Duke is basically the Alabama of basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe more the Ohio State. You know, they're just good coming. I just want to punch them in the face, but they're so freaking good.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not necessarily in your conference. I would say Kentucky's the Alabama of basketball in the SEC, but Duke is just that. Ohio State, they're just always good. And they had they were a little bit down this year because, you know, the first season without Coach K.
Yep.
But they still had a good season. They NCAA tournament team. And they're coming to Bud Walton, which is what's just huge.
Yeah, they don't play many road games.
We typically get hosed in these type of things.
Yeah.
And to give them that type of game, but I think a lot of that was you saw the way the crowd showed up and showed out last year all season long.
Yeah.
I think they're like, okay, let's give them that environment. But now y'all go to that game and you act right. Don't be mooning no basketball players.
That's right. Yeah. No, that's gonna be a huge game. You're right. Sam Pittman's gonna love it. You're exactly right. Nail on the head there, man. He's gonna love it because every recruit's gonna want to come to that one. And they're going to come and see that environment that night. And I think that year, Clint, I think we have Kentucky twice too.
Yeah.
I think we play Kentucky twice and then Duke. So we're going to have Kentucky at home and Duke at home. That's some big games, man.
But that's the type of level that I think Musselman's brought back to Arkansas.
Yep.
It is because I don't know if you remember when I think it was when Calipari was at Memphis, and the Arkansas Memphis was a traditional, game, and he's like, "We're not playing Arkansas anymore. We need to."
Yeah.
Because we were no longer nationally relevant.
Yeah.
And Calipari was right.
Yeah.
I think that was back when may have been Pelfrey was at Arkansas.
Yeah.
They kind of, yeah. Or it may have been
Yep.
Heath, and they don't want to play, then what can we do? I mean, it just so the fact that it had fallen, and I think I think Anderson, to his degree, he came in and stabilized it. Definitely left it better than he found it.
Yeah.
Then Musselman's just taking it to another level. So,
well, and as you mentioned, normally we get the raw end of the stick on the scheduling stuff, right? And so that I want to segue a little bit into football, because I happened on a video of Josh Pate from Outkick.
okay.
I think he's with 27/47 Sports or whatever, their national guy. And he was talking about Arkansas, and he was talking about how Arkansas, does have some questions, on everything. And he talked about, how, and we'll talk about a little more about the position questions that they have. I don't want to talk about that a little bit, but he said the biggest thing is, and we've talked about it on here before, is the schedule. Even though this schedule this year is not the hardest schedule we've had, it's the fact that for 4 weeks straight, we're on the road outside the state.
Yeah.
And then we come home from Mississippi State, and then we go to Auburn. So we got
Are you sure Auburn's not coming to us? Because we were at Auburn last year.
Okay, well, maybe someone else, but
yeah,
we have we'll have BYU at home,
right?
And then we have the A&M game, Ole Miss on the road, then Alabama, and the A&M games in Texas. So even though it's a neutral site, it's still our guys won't be home. Anyway, so for 4 weeks straight, we're on the road. I forget what the other one is. You got the schedule there?
Yeah. So you finish BYU, then you go to LSU.
Oh, that's right. LSU's first.
Then A&M, then Ole Miss, and then Alabama. So that's a rough 4-game stretch.
Those are 4 good teams. I mean, I think LSU's going to be fighting for a national championship this year.
Yeah.
Sadly.
I hate that middle part, but I like the way it begins and ends.
I do like the way it begins and ends, but that middle part, and then you come home from Mississippi State, right? And then who's after them?
Mississippi State. Then you go to Florida, who's got some questions. I mean, if they're Florida, they're going to have
that's more of a winnable game than it has been in the past, right?
Yeah, and then Auburn comes home. Then you have FIU, which I hate those late season, if it's up to me, I'd do 4 non-conference games, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I do conference play. I don't try to step out of.
Well, the only good thing about the FIU game, I threw an A in there somewhere. Anyway,
yeah, just extra letters.
Just
honor in there,
numbers and stuff. But the good thing about that game, though, Clint, I think is it's almost like if you do it right. Okay, if we do it right, it's only play your guys your starters a half, get them some rest, get them stretched out good, but get them some rest before you go into that Missouri game. It's similar to what Alabama does every year. Alabama has a tune-up game before that Auburn game every year.
Yeah.
And so I don't mind that. I don't mind that too much, having that, because even though it's not a bye week, it's a week that if you play it right, and now you got to play it right. And this team has not, we didn't play it right against Missouri State last year. So we still got to prove we can do those games the right way. But
well, you even heard we had Cam Ball on the podcast. And he even said, "Yeah, we kind of thought we were going to be able to just roll out there and win."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you got to go out there and you got to decide. We're going to have them down so bad at half that our starters are going to play one drive in the second half, and then that's it.
part of the reason every game was scary last year was because of our secondary. I mean, it was. Yeah. Now, I'm going to read you something from Pro Football Focus, and you tell me, does this make you feel worse or better? All right. Pro Football Focus. Hold on. I was on it, and now I'm not. Okay. Highest graded safeties. I'm going to just read the top 5. Returning. Wesley Walker from Tennessee at number 1. Number 2, Hudson Clark. Highest graded safeties. Zion Childers from Kentucky. Number 4, Al Walcott, the transfer from Baylor who transferred to Arkansas, and C.J. Taylor. So 2 of the top 5 returning safeties in the SEC play for the University of Arkansas. That make you feel better or worse?
It doesn't make me feel better, Clint.
Why is that? Because it does make me that well, and I think me and you talked about it beforehand. So I have feelings on this. Go ahead, share your feelings, Travis.
My feelings are we had the last ranked pass defense in NCAA last year. The last ranked big play defense in the SEC in the nation last year. And Hudson Clark was on that team. And even though there was times, I'm not going to say it was always his fault, but there was times it looked like it was his fault on some plays. Now he made some also good plays. Okay. And I love the guy. I really do. I mean, he's a guy that somehow he keeps going out there and winning that spot. And I'm proud of him for that. Okay. And I'll always remember the big interception games at Ole Miss. Okay. But I'm hopeful for the guy at Baylor, what's his name? Walcott.
Yeah. Walcott.
Yeah. I'm hopeful for that. That makes me feel better about him. But I still want him to prove it on the field. And maybe it wasn't Hudson's fault. Maybe it was some other people's faults. We'll see. But I don't know. I don't, it doesn't necessarily, because I still worry about that. Ranked 131 last year, 131.
Well, they were doing like the replay of the Kansas game. It was like Arkansas Day. I was on Liberty Bowl, and you're sitting there watching the defensive backfield get just shredded.
Yeah.
And giving up that lead, it's like, just like, but, a lot of those guys are gone. There's a lot of turnover in that secondary. And I think as far as safety goes, I think Hudson Clark had a better year. I think the other guys were just so bad. You look at like Simeon Blair. Tom's calling me.
Oh, good.
Yeah, my dad. Call him back later. But anyway, so, Simeon Blair, you look at it, he transferred out. He was a team captain, had the C on his chest. He ended up transferring to UAPB.
Yeah.
I think there was what scares me more about the secondary is anything. I think one deep was good. We're good. One deep, we're good. Now, obviously losing what's his face?
Quincy McAdoo.
Quincy McAdoo. And I didn't mean to disrespect Quincy McAdoo. He's a outstanding. That hurts. That's already taken a hit on the depth. But you know what? You gotta. I think we're going to see a much improvement. I think you saw wholesale changes on the defensive coaching staff, except for up front. I think the secondary is definitely coached by all new guys. He's got 2 coaches back there, one for safeties, one for corners, I think.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I want to see improved tackling. If they catch the ball, fine, get them down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't let them keep running. That's
And I think that's on Sam Pittman.
Well, I think Pittman even owned that.
Yeah.
I think he owned it. And you got to keep in mind, this is Pittman's 4th year as a head coach. He's so I mean he's learning. I mean, he's been coaching forever.
Yeah.
But man, so
well, and that brings me to a question that I just thought about, Clint.
Go ahead.
And I saw this on Twitter the other day. Someone put, what are your feelings about Sam Pittman as a coach?
I'm high on him. I think he's a great football coach. And I think, if nothing else, he's left it better than he found it. And I think he gets it. Mm-hmm. You're not going to have another coach to come in that cares as much and gets it as Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
Recruiting's good. I think, he found some culture problems and he got rid of the culture problems.
Yeah.
And Pittman's going to win some games. I'm not down on Sam Pittman. I'm high on Pittman. And I think this team's going to be very, very good. I think you look at last year, the secondary was bad and KJ was hurt a lot. You have a middle of the road secondary. You have LD KJ Jefferson. This team goes 8-4, 9-3, 10-2.
Yeah.
We didn't have those things, so it was 6-6.
Yeah.
And so
I thought about it when I saw that on Twitter, and I didn't respond to the person, but I want to preface what I'm going to say with this. And I mean this. There's not another coach in college football I'd rather have than Sam Pittman. I think I'd rather have him than Saban.
Yeah.
Just because, and look, people would say, well, you're an idiot. Okay, well, maybe I am.
Agreed.
For the reason you're talking about, he gets it. He gets Arkansas. He gets it. Okay. Now, just because I think that highly of him, and I wouldn't trade him for nobody. Okay. We still have to look at ourselves, all of us do, and see where our weaknesses are, where we can improve, right? And I think Pittman has struggled some making head coaching decisions. I think he's second-guessed himself at times. I think he's been some inconsistencies in some of his head coaching decisions. I think he's let some of his assistants have too much of a say at times. He's trusted them. He needs to trust his assistants, but in the end, it's his decisions, and I think he's let some of the things they've said in some decisions, especially, we complained about some of the calls Briles was making. Okay. Well, in the end, Pittman's the one that okays some of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the timings of those trick plays and stuff like that. Yes, Briles should have made those calls, but Pittman's on that headset and he's hearing what he's saying. And he needs to be the voice on there saying, okay, buddy, let's not try that, or this ain't the time.
No, and I agree with you. A&M's a great example because you had your foot on A&M's throat.
Yeah.
You had your foot on their throat and you tried to get cute.
Yeah.
And I get it. A cutesy play probably would have broken their back, but
yeah,
playing them straight up and just dominating them, you didn't need cute.
And that's the thing. I think Pittman's wired to keep his foot on the throat. I think he's wired to do that. And that's what I'm saying. I think he lets his nature of just wanting everybody to have a say and, everyone to have, there's times for that. Okay. And that's a great quality to have as a leader, but there's also times when you got to say, no, this is how we're going to do it. And so that's it. I mean, he's learning that. I think he learned a lot last year. And so I'm anxious to see what this year's going to look like. I think he learned a whole lot
for the season, but that was his 3rd year. And you really want to be honest with you, that first year, I don't even think should count.
No.
I mean, you go 3-7 all SEC schedule,
Yeah.
but you know as well as I do, that first half of the Georgia game, second half it got out of the way. First game he had as head coach. You're just like, this is a different. I mean, to come in as quickly as he has and just completely change the culture.
Yeah.
Go from club dub.
Yeah.
To
turn that damn jukebox on.
Turn that damn jukebox on. I got me a shirt that says it. So it was just
he's the right he's the right guy for the job.
He is. He's got catchphrases, but it's because they've happened organically. He hasn't, just try. He's just genuine. He's real, and I think kids get it. And I'm looking forward to the season.
I am too.
I'm
ready for some football, man. Ready for it.
Yeah. We're in the last full month without college football, so Travis, we made it through another one, my man.
We sure did.
Yeah, guys, we're sorry. We'll never neglect y'all for 2 weeks again. We're sorry.
Well, hey, real quick, Clint, what have you been watching?
I finished Barry. I finished it when I was in Vegas. I was watching there's all these shows you watch and you get emotionally invested in, and you just hope they get the series finale right.
Yeah.
And Barry, I'm not just saying this, is the best series finale I've ever seen.
Really?
Like you're just like, wow. It was good. Guys, if you haven't watched Barry, I can't say enough good things about it. Bill Hader's just brilliant in it.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. And so do yourself a favor, check out Barry. Super duper good.
Well, I'm gonna throw a little wrench in our what are you watching?
Oh, not
do something a little different.
Yep.
A friend of mine texted me here a while back, said, "Hey, have you checked out this book? It's by a guy named Eli Kaner. I think. He went to OBU. He's from Arkansas. This book is a fiction book. And I bought which my buddy had done the same thing. I bought the audio book. So I listened to it on off my phone or whatever. So I was listening to it while I was driving a lot and stuff like that. And it was excellent. It's called Don't Know Tough. Okay. It sounds kind of weird the way it says it. But it's about a coach that's moved to a fictional town called Denton, Arkansas. Okay. And he's coaching a small town football team there. He moved from California and drives a Prius. And he got fired by his own father-in-law, who was the athletic director there. He wasn't winning, so his father-in-law fired him. So he got a job in Arkansas and moved out here. And he's got a running back named Billy Lowe. And Billy's got a troubled family and troubled just making some, it's based on Billy and just the tough life that he's lived. The coach himself grew up in a tough life. And they go through some interesting things, man. It's got a lot of action in it. It'd make a great movie. It's
probably will be in one day.
I will warn you, it's got it does have some language in it. If you're not used to reading books that have some language in it, it's got some language in it. But it's excellent. And guess who in the story, guess who they play in the playoffs?
Village Academy.
No, I wish. No, the Bearden Bears.
Oh wow, okay.
So yeah, they were going to play
and I'm doing a podcast, the voice of Bearden Bear football.
That's right. I'm the voice of Bearden Bear football.
Travis Johnson.
And then one of the characters in it, he had a chance to go to college. Southern Arkansas University's mentioned in it. I think Arkansas Tech's mentioned in it.
The Harvard of the South.
Yeah, it's so he uses some things from Arkansas, and then but he'll, but like I said, the official town, I think, is kind of like a Delta town, and it's a fictional town. I mean, there may be a Denton, Arkansas, but it ain't big enough to have a football team that I know of. So anyway, check it out, y'all. Don't Know Tough. It's an Arkansas boy, wrote the book. You know, if you like, you know, if you're not big into reading, get the it's well done. He reads and does like some of the voices and stuff for the audio book. So it's excellent. It really is. And it leaves you kind of the ending's good. And to be honest with you, Clint, it's one of those that at the end of it, you just want to sit down and talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
And I haven't been able to talk to my one friend that I know that read it. So he's kind of busy right now. So I'm like, he's traveling right now. So I was like, man,
see, because
I need someone else to read this book, so I can't, or to listen to it.
Because you know, when you go, if you haven't read this book, and I'm like, I assure you, I haven't.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I haven't read a book since 1983.
Well, this would be a good one to come back on, because I'm telling you, I think anybody, you know, it's just, you know, it's got some sports stuff, but it's also just, man, these, you know, people coming from some tough situations, and it's kind of a really good, just kind of depicts what a lot of people in Arkansas, you know, I mean, like all over, but people living kind of growing up in poverty and struggle, you know. So anyway, and check it out. Don't Know Tough. So that's our second ever book review.
Yeah. And I didn't read either one of them.
Yeah. So anyway, all right, folks. Well, seriously, thanks for watching and listening and paying attention.
You better like, share, and subscribe right now.
Like, share, subscribe, comment on us. Tell us what you think.
I'm only going to wear tank tops until you like, share, and subscribe.
That's right.
Only tank tops.
That's right. Hey, happy 4th of July.
Yeah. I hope all of you have all your fingers come to the 5th.
That's right. Don't be careful with your fireworks safety. Don't let them black cats blow up in your hand. That's bad news. Bad news. All right. Clint, enjoyed it, brother.
Later, taters.
Have a good one.
Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Sweat, work, filthy, dirt, harvest, hurt, kingdom come. Listen, that's why I sweat when I work. My hands get filthy down in this dirt. Won't see no harvest till I hurt. Crying your kingdom come. Listen, I wake up in the morning, I bow my head to pray. Mama told me if I don't, ain't nothing gonna change. These prayers breaking up hard drive so I can sow the seed. Ain't afraid of no aches and pain. Lord knows I gotta follow his lead. That's why I sweat when I work. My hands get